This is gonna sound very stupid. It was like, oh, I don't want to do something stupid so everyone knows that I'm not used to it and that I look stupid, and then people are like, oh.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time in the channel, hit subscribe right now.
I was also joking with you before we started recording that, well, it's not that long since we last spoke, because the last time we spoke, we joked about the fact that you are on so many albums and that you've been releasing, so many of your own stuff and you've guested with others. And then you said, you know what, Jasper, I'm going to slow down a little bit. That was a big lie because now we're, less than a year later and you've been again on many, many releases and a new At Infinitum album is coming out. Is that only because the demand is there, or are you just in reality a person that has a hard time sitting still and needs to be working on a million things?
Oh, it's a great question. I have this conversation so often because I sometimes don't understand why I feel like I'm always on the, on the fight or fly mode. But I feel like I slowed down since the last time we talked.
Okay.
However, when there's cool projects from friends, for example, coming up, I'm like, yeah, I probably have the time for that.
Yeah.
But no, I have this tendency to always keep myself busy and always have music in my mind. Even when I'm watching TV, for example, I usually have my iPad and I'm doing stuff. So that's a little bit of an issue, I would say.
Yeah. Now, I was at a show last night where my friend Pedro from AP Reacts was as well, and we were talking about you, and he said, like, isn't it funny that in the first interview that I did with Melissa years ago, she said that her hope was to one day have a band that could open up for Kamelot, and here are we today, where not only have you been on their records, but you are now also, touring with them, taking us to, and obviously there's also a clear connection between Kamelot and somebody that has inspired you a lot, Cobra Page of Cobra and the Lotus. What's it like? Do you find it time to take a step back and just go like, wait a minute, this is pretty awesome, this journey, because it has gone extremely fast in a short time. How do you look at that?
It has gone super fast, and I took the time to think about it during the tour with Kamelot in South America. I was behind the stage, in between songs that I was participating to, and I took a moment and I was like, holy moly, it's actually pretty cool. And I was thinking back when I was driving to the rehearsals with my first band, and we were listening to Kamelot, and I was like, oh, this is such an awesome music, and it's the band that inspired me a lot, and really being on stage and singing those songs with them, I was like, wow, this is like, check.
Let's spend our focus for a moment, obviously, on the new At Infinitum album that's coming out, your third album in 4 years. As we already said, it's kind of like, the career that other bands take 10 to 15 years for. With you guys, that has happened in 3 years, really. No time to waste. Let's dig into the concept first and foremost. Every album so far has been inspired by real people, by true events. We've seen Louis XIV, we've seen Dracula, and now we are seeing Cleopatra and ancient Egypt. Where did the all very famous people, obviously, they have that all in common, but also very different people. What drew you to this character right now, and where did that inspiration come from?
When we talked about the inspiration and what would inspire the third album, we all agreed in the band that it was time to pick a woman who influenced our history. And we had a few candidates, but Cleopatra was the one by far who inspired us the most. And the thing is, when you talk about Cleopatra in ancient Egypt, you cannot skip the mythology. So there was this big jar of content, inspiration, stories. And you're like, okay, you have to pick just a few to do like just an album. But honestly, you could base your entire career on these stories because there's just so much to tell.
If we go into the person of Cleopatra, I mean, few women have been written about more in history maybe than her. But if we go into the personal level, truly a Greek person living in an exotic world for her, or where her family was ruling, in conflict, very much a multicultural person. Is there a little bit of a personal connection with Melissa?
I didn't think about it that way, actually. But I find her very inspiring for what she's achieved, and what she's achieved despite the obstacles on her way. For example, when she was put on the throne with her brother Ptolemy, he at some point decided, you know what, I don't really want to share this throne. And so he tried to kill her. She went into exile in Syria, and she came back. And what a comeback. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So there's something super powerful about...
Just asking you real quick here, do you have a younger brother that should be very worried right now?
I have a younger brother, but he's safe.
Okay. Because, I mean, people that know history also know what happened after that comeback of Cleopatra to Ptolemy.
That was a very good comeback.
Yes.
And that's actually what the song Upside Down is about.
Are you feeling alone as the pages burn, all is said and stone? Hope is fading.
Another song that has been released is Seth, one of the ancient gods. If we go into the music video real quick, because there's something fun also happening very clearly, not just behind the scenes. There is, it seems almost like a friends and family group in the let's call it greater German metal scene, because we tend to see similar faces pop up in different projects. You obviously already are share an actual band in Dark Side of the Moon with some of the Feuerschwanz members, but we see also some Feuerschwanz members in that video come back. Is it as simple as that, as there's just a group of friends that happen to play in bands and are cross-pollinating each other like crazy?
Basically, I would say. It's, whenever you need or want to add someone's talents and skills to a music video or a song or whatever project you have, it's just natural to call your friends, because I mean, first of all, they're very talented, and it's always so much fun to be on set with them. So yeah, it was a very easy choice.
All of these bands, they're all different. From a music perspective, for sure, but there are some similarities. This kind of symphonic and classic inspired metal with a modern touch has been very popular in Europe for a long time, but in the last few years we're starting to see that popularity come up again in North America, and we see more bands that come play here. We just had Visions of Atlantis come through. We had Epica and Sabaton come through North America. Is that something that you as on the side of the bands also see, that there's starting to be more demand again in North America for this European metal?
I think so. I mean, I've seen a lot of comments under our videos or tour pictures from people from North America who were basically asking us to come to play there. And for us, it's actually kind of tricky because we are a new band, so we kind of depend on the offers. We've been talking about several offers, and I think there will be something coming this year beside the date at Proc Power that we have already confirmed. But it's exciting and frustrating at the same time, because we see lots of people being super excited also for other bands. For example, you mentioned Visions of Atlantis right now in North America. and they're killing it. I see the pictures, the videos, and I see that there's a lot of demand for it. And for us, we cannot just go on a headliner tour as a first tour in America.
Right, for
so
sure.
We're discussing with people, with agents, with bands, and we are so eager to finally confirm and announce this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you need to get the visas for one festival, you might as well make them work, right? Because that's what we're seeing more and more, where European tours try to do 2 tours back to back through North America because of all the administration and costs involved in just setting up one show.
Yeah, exactly. It's very expensive. It's a lot of work, so it's totally worth it to jump on a tour around this one festival, because it doesn't make sense to do only this one date.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who cannot go there, because it's funny, when you're from Europe you tend to think that it's closed because it's one country, but it's a very big country.
Yeah.
And then there's people from Canada as well, people from Mexico, people everywhere around.
Yeah, and then 1 million people on every video saying come to Brazil. Let's not forget about those. I want to go back to that Seth song as well, which is a really cool song. I think it's a standout track on the album. But, one of the examples of, really going into the mythology that you go into with Egypt. But, when you listen to the song, not the music, but the lyrics, it's pretty quickly, it's pretty easy to assume that these ancient stories, they're not just because you like history, it's not just because you like the mythology, but because they are metaphors as well that you can use to share some thoughts on today's society. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, it is, totally. And like I always say, I like to create lyrics in a way that people can choose to be transported into another era and learn about history, or choose to relate to them because they relate to the feeling that is described, that is pictured in the song.
Let's look at the music as well. You've given us 3 full-length albums in less than 4 years. So people are going to put them side by side and see what's the evolution of the band. We do see an evolution. We first album maybe the most symphonic. The second album tried more modern sounds. This album seems to be a bit of a combination of both, where it's I think at the same time the most epic, but also the most modern sounding album. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think it's definitely the most modern, and we went a little bit further with the orchestration to give them some oriental vibe to fit the theme. That's the first time we do this, actually. For the first and second album, you cannot really hear the influence of the character in the music.
Right.
It's more on the lyrics, but this time you can really hear the influence of ancient Egypt especially in the orchestrations, actually.
The light that goes up in your eyes when you talk about, the influence of the character, that makes me believe that you already have 3 or 4 next albums and stories in mind and ideas of how to use music to make those characters come to life. Are you truly slowing down, or should we just expect the next album next year already?
I mean, it all depends on our schedule and our plans. If we tour a lot, if we have time to go to the studio. But fun fact, a few days ago, Nick sent a Dropbox link and he was like, hey, I have a new idea. And it was also something, you listen to it and you're like, oh yeah, we're starting again.
So it's not just you that is compulsive about creating, it's everybody in the band.
It's everybody in the band.
We've seen some announcements, we've seen some festivals in the States, but also in Europe. A few festivals announced. What should we keep our eyes open for more? You were hinting at some more shows in North America. What can you share?
Okay, I tend to not want to share what is not announced or what I'm not allowed to announce. But what I can say is that there are more festivals coming. There are festivals in Germany, Spain, and I think that's it, but I'm not sure. There's more concerts coming also in Europe, and hopefully, like I said, more plans in North America, and all this for still 2023 and beginning of 24.
I have to also ask you about another passion that you've been sharing about that for me was very relatable because I grew up with that same passion, and I hope that in between those shows and tours you find time to do that in multiple parts of the world, and that is riding horses, whether it's on a beach or not. I'll leave up to you, but how long have you been riding horses?
Oh, I'm not an experienced rider.
Okay.
I go every now and then. I think I did it the first time when I was a little kid, and then I started to do it again maybe a couple of years ago. And actually, fun fact is when we filmed May It Be with The Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
That was the first time I was going riding again.
Okay.
Riding for the video, and that's what gave me the urge to do it again. And since then I've been riding here in Denmark with a few friends.
Nice. I mean, it is it's one of those things I find. I used to ride a lot as a kid, and it's kind of like riding a bicycle. Like, you may not do it for 20 years, but then somebody puts you on a horse and it's like natural, I find. So it's wonderful to do.
Yeah, I find it too, and also the connection with the horse is so powerful, that the fact that I felt it especially when we filmed the video for May It Be.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it was the first time in a long time that I was getting on a horse again, and at first you give some indications, and after a few minutes already the horse understands what you want without you needing to say or do anything, because it's like a connection that makes you one.
Yeah, but was there like a huge, let's call it, anticipation or anxiety leading up to that video? Because I can imagine that you go like, well, I haven't been on a horse since I was a little kid, and now I have to do it on camera in a gown, and if this horse decides to take off in this forest, it's like, bye everybody.
No, it was more like, okay, this is gonna sound very stupid. It was like, oh, I don't want to do something stupid so everyone knows that I'm not used to it and that I look stupid, and then people are like, oh. But no, I was very confident on the horse, and it was funny because I had to kind of calm her down at some point. We were filming with a drone, and at some point the drone was kind of low and you could hear it like mosquito or wasp or whatever. And the horse was like, I'm not so sure about that. And I was like, it's okay. And then she went.
Awesome. Well, I hope, especially, I mean, if I can give you one aspiration, when you do go to the States, it is a vast country for sure, but some fantastic opportunities to ride horses at lengths and speeds that you just cannot do in Europe because there's too much in the way. Awesome. Well, Melissa, I've taken a lot of your time, and you are so busy, and I so much appreciate you taking the time in this crazy schedule to talk to me and answer some of my questions. I wish you all the best with yet another release cycle for you and all the tours that you'll be on, and I hope to see you on the stage real soon.
Well, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, and thank you for having me.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.